Hey guys, I'm Spring Vacations, and welcome to my video response to Matt, aka Remember After Life's video about what's the current state of horror films today. And his video was actually a response to CK of Dead Pit. His video was talking about creepy thoughts, talking about what is horror dead. And, I sat with Matt, and I feel that I don't think it's dead. Like, it's not dead and buried yet, but it's as close as it can get when it comes to mainstream horror, because in all honesty there's nothing coming out in theaters that I could remotely honestly find myself even being remotely interested in. I mean, the horror genre of the mainstream is just really honestly it's just way too jam packed full of remakes and sequels to old franchises and not enough originality. Even Cabin in the Woods, this groundbreaking movie, which I still haven't seen yet, but I seriously doubt if it's really that groundbreaking. That was made in 2009, and it wasn't released until this year because of MGM's issues with their bankruptcy. So that release, and I wouldn't even really consider Cabin in the Woods a 2012 film. I would consider that a 2009 film because it was finished in 2009. That's how I would look at it. So that could be one of the best horror films of 2009. But I seriously doubt if it was released in 2009. If I remember correctly, I think the Friday the 13th remake or one of the other remakes or something, the horror movies came out in 2009. I think Friday the 13th remake came out in 2009. If that came out in 2009, Cabin in the Woods wouldn't even made that much money. It wouldn't even made as much as it did. But that's not the point. I'm not talking about Cabin Woods. I'm talking about the horror genre today. It's dead. It's almost dead to me. It's in critical condition to me. It's on life support right now because the mainstream horror films, and honestly, I don't give a flying fuck about. I don't care. And a majority of hardcore fans, horror fans, and even casual fans aren't really interested in this stuff. I mean, it seems like there are some really hardcore guys who are really into the new upcoming horror films. If you're looking forward to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D or, Paranormal Activity 4, be my guest. I just honestly can't. I don't really care. I'm not looking forward to them at all. Even a film like Sinister, I was kind of curious about because I like Ethan Hawke and it's got a male lead in a horror film and he's an adult, but at the same time, it reminds me too much of Insidious, or The Sixth Sense or any of these ghost story films. That's another thing. I'm getting tired of ghost stories. I'm getting tired of haunted house flicks. I'm getting tired of paranormal activity. I'm tired of that. The other thing I'm tired of is found footage. Just stop it already. It's getting ridiculous. We're having found footage films about dinosaurs and tornadoes. If that's what it's come to now, just stop. Just stop it already. And sequels to franchises that honestly don't deserve that many sequels, like Final Destination. Why is it? What is it? The 7th movie? Like you had Final Destination, which is actually pretty good one. The first one, the second one was good. The third one, no. The fourth one sucked, which was called The Final Destination. It was thinking like, well, we can pull Friday the 13th, the final chapter on the audiences. Nah, not gonna get a second time around. And then he had Final Destination 5, his 6th movie. Final Destination is not a series that needs 6 films. It's not even a movie that needed a franchise. I mean, after part 3, it should have just stopped. Just done. Just leave alone. Paranormal Activity. I can't believe it's getting a 4th movie. And The Human Centipede's getting a 3rd film. A movie about butts being sewn to people's asses is putting butts in seats. There's something wrong here. I mean, that's not even a horror. I don't even consider that a horror film. That's just torture porn. I don't want to watch. It's gross, disgusting. And, who wants to watch? I guess people like watching people's asses get sewn to other people's faces get sewn to other people's asses. Because if these movies are making money, I guess that's the case. It's gone from actually scaring people now to just grossing people out or just, making them feel uncomfortable or shocked. Oh my goodness. Can't believe that. They just sewed his ass to that person. They sewed that person's face to that guy's ass. Oh my god, that's disgusting. I'm so scared. I mean, it's gone from horror to just shock. Just straight up shock. There's not even horror anymore. It's just shock. Stupid jump scares that are predictable as all hell. You know, lazy, uninspired screenwriting. You know, silly plots. Paranormal Activity isn't even about a paranormal activity now. It's about demonic activity. Yeah, I call it Paranormal Activity, and it's not even about a ghost. It's about a demon. Ooh, good one. Movie. Remakes. Halloween 3D might come out. Of course, you have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, which if you're looking forward to is fine with me, but it's insulting in my opinion and a slap in the face to try to say that this is the true sequel. We're going to get a direct sequel to the first film because part 2 was so shitty. Because part 2, you know, was such a bad film. I don't think so. I think part 2 is a really solid, fun little horror flick. It's got a more it's got a more sense of humor about it, unlike the first film. If not a morbid, dark sense of humor, but it's still pretty good in its own right. It's, in my opinion, Tobe Hooper's last truly great film. And a lot of people agree. But, you know, a lot of people don't. Because, you know, 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb is way too flippin' low. So, and we're getting Hatchet 3. Well, I haven't even seen the first 2. I mean, right at the bat, folks, you know, I'm a newbie when it comes to this horror thing. You know, I wasn't able to watch any horror films until I got to a certain age when Mom would finally let me watch them. Some of the few ones I first saw were like Creepshow. You know, Creepshow. Representing Creepshow. And you know, stuff like The Monster Squad, and, you know, it's kind of kiddie horror, but it still had some horror elements. You know, Nightmare on Elm Street, the first film, Halloween. The first time I saw Halloween, I gotta be honest, I didn't care for it. I thought it was boring, but I saw it again, I loved it. I don't know what I was thinking back then. One of the first horror films I saw too was The Guardian with William Friedkin, the one about the wood nymph, which was, talking about silly, but I thought that movie was pretty good. I think it's kind of underrated. But, you know, also, what also got me into horror was makeup effects. All these makeup effects books that I bought. These makeup special effects books, like Makeup Men and Monsters, and special effects makeup, and Stan Winston, you know, the artist Stan Winston Studio. All these kind of makeup effects books, they really got me into horror. And then I think it was really probably American Werewolf in London, which just kick-started it, and I just started trying to find anything that I could, because the effects were just blew my mind. And then I saw The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and then I was like, wow, okay, I need to find more movies, you know, like this. See what other horror films I can find, which other films I can track down. Now that I'm not, you know, banned from seeing them because I'm not old enough. So, through the makeup effects books, I really started to really appreciate the craft and the art of these makeup effects artists. And that's what's missing. That's one of the things that is missing from the horror genre today, and one of the things that really needs to come back in order for the horror genre to, you know, come back to life, in my opinion. I've already mentioned why I think it's close to life. It's almost dead. You know, shitty screenwriting, you know, lazy, uninspired ideas. I mean, there was actually a good idea for the Fright Night remake. The original script idea was that Charlie was going to ask Chris Sarandon to help him out with this vampire thing, because he starred in Fright Night. And, of course, it would be kind of a cool little thing, because Chris Sarandon could be like, oh, well, I wasn't Peter Vincent, I was the vampire, I was the bad guy. What do I know about vampires? I don't know what to do. But, you know, that would have been cool to see Chris Sarandon, instead of just a shitty cameo who gets killed by Colin Farrell, and have him, you know, be a part of this story, this deep, interesting sort of idea of Fright Night in real life, and actually combine Fright Night, the movie, with the remake, and try to, you know, connect the two, and have Chris Sarandon, you know, helping Charlie out, fighting vampires. That'd be cool. But dumbass Hollywood executives didn't get it. They were like, I don't get it. Like, it smoked so much freaking crack cocaine, it blew up all the brain cells in his brain, I guess. I mean, But Hollywood, all they care about with horror films now is the bottom line. They care about money. That's all they care about anyway, is profit. And as long as moviegoers keep going to see Paranormal Activity 4, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, or see these sequels, Human Centipede 3, we're just going to see more movies like that. Because Hollywood knows it's going to get an opening weekend, and it's going to make a quick buck. That's all horror genre is for Hollywood right now. It's a quick buck making machine. That's all it is. It's just a genre so they can make a quick buck. They don't give a shit about... Hollywood really honestly doesn't care about horror anymore. It's not the big money maker like it was in the 80s. Now Hollywood could care less about it, and they're going more into the crime, drama, action genre with, Nolan-like action movies or superhero films. Hollywood could actually probably care less about the horror films. In order for Hollywood to finally give a shit about horror again, audiences need to let them know that we're tired of this found footage bullshit. We're tired of all these sequels and remakes. We want something different. We want something fresh, and we want something that's, something that's like a tribute or a homage to the genre. Not some lazy ass uninspired shit. Sorry if I'm adjusting my glasses here. It's just kind of looks like I'm crooked. I'm like, grrr. But, I mean, really. And I don't know why I'm doing this. Live video. Clean my freaking glasses is annoying the shit out of me. Just like all this bullshit with horror films today. I gotta be honest, I haven't even seen a horror film in theaters. The last horror film that I saw in theaters... Let me think. The last horror film I saw in theaters... Fucking Nightmare on Elm Street, probably. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake. It's not a great experience. It's something I like to relive again. I mean, that's the thing. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake is exactly what Hollywood wants. A quick buck. Gets opening weekend and bang, we run away with our money. Like bandits. The whole thing is, if we want them to stop doing this uninspired, lazy shit and keep making the same thing and go something different and taking a different, different arena, yeah, Cabin in the Woods is different. It's only different because there's nothing else that's out in theaters to compete with it. There's nothing else out there for, to actually compete with Cabin in the Woods that is different. Because they're all sequels or remakes. Or crap about people's faces getting sewn to asses. And I'm sorry, that is what the Human Centipede is. Or baby rape, like in freaking Serbian film. I mean, it's like, that is not horror. That's just as close to a snuff film as you can get. And that's just... I'm sorry, I don't like the way that if horrors go in that direction, I will go the opposite direction every time. If it's wanting to go this way, if horror's wanting to go the torture porn / snuff film, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to get away from the genre in terms of mainstream is going to do that shit. Because it's just disturbing, sick, and just not at all entertaining or fun to watch. A lot of people are saying, well, horror films aren't supposed to be fun to watch. You know what? I don't see how you get that. I don't get it. You know why horror films were so popular in the 80s? Because of the slasher movies, which were fun to watch. Not all horror films. There's no rule, folks. The horror film has to end with a depressing ass, boring, and not really boring, but depressing ass ending where everybody dies because that's horror. That's what horror is. No hope, no mercy. It's like, not every movie has to be like Hellraiser. And even Hellraiser films have somewhat of a happy ending. I mean, and those are some dark, twisted movies. That's another thing Hollywood needs to stop doing with horror films in order to get me interested again. Stop ending them the same fucking way where everybody fucking dies. It's like, what is the point of me watching this movie now? It's becoming cliche. It's a flipping cliche, just like the found footage films. And especially if you're watching a found footage film, you're guaranteed that you're gonna, that it's gonna end with everybody dying. If, God forbid, if somebody survives, I will be shocked. If I see the Chernobyl Diaries and I'm like, oh my God, somebody lived in the end. Oh, this is unbelievable. I want to give this movie a medal. I seriously doubt that anybody would live in the end because these movies are so damn predictable. Found footage. Well, it's found footage. Everybody has to die. Let's stop doing the fucking found footage genre because it's pointless. It's not working. And not everybody has to die. Watch St. Francisville Experiment. Everybody didn't die in that movie. So, I mean, and that was a found footage film. So basically, tired of the found footage genre, tired of the freaking torture porn snuff film genre. It doesn't work for me. If it works for you, fine. I just don't get my rocks off watching snuff films. Sorry. And, horror films are missing fun. People are saying, well, Cabin in the Woods was fun. No, it wasn't. It was like half-assed. Oh, this is fun to watch. I mean, I can understand. I still haven't seen it, but I've seen clips. I've seen, reviews. I've seen this stuff. I know enough about the film now that, you haven't seen it yet, reviews and everything. I know enough about it right now that I seriously doubt that I'm going to enjoy it. But I might be surprised. I mean, like I was with this another movie that I saw recently. So, but anyway, I mean, basically what I'm saying is more original, more fun, don't end it with some depressing ass ending where everybody dies or the world is ending. Another thing that I think was wrong with horror films today too is a damn female lead. Now I understand that, it's popular. It's not even popular anymore. I can't even say that. It probably started way before Halloween, but, from what I can remember, I think the first true heroine in horror was Jamie Lee Curtis, not Sigourney Weaver in Alien. Sigourney Weaver followed suit after Jamie Lee and Halloween. And those two movies flipped the script. Wow, the woman survives in the end. Holy shit. She's not a weak pussy. Wow. Now, we need to flip the script again. Because now, it was cliche, in the early movie times, 40s, 50s, 60s, that the guy always survived in the horror film. Now, and the girl was just there to be like, just to scream and look pretty and get killed. Now we need to flip the script. Give me a male lead. And give me a likable male lead. And make him an adult, for Christ's sakes. Don't make him some teeny bopper tween. The problem is now with horror films too, it's like we're stuck in a teenage cycle. It's like, that ran its course already. The teenage horror film ran its course in the 80s and early 90s. If you're going to keep doing that, you're like driving a car with no wheels. I mean, you're driving a car with no tires on it. Just scraping metal on the pavement. The female lead and the teenage cast. It's like, enough of this. It's not going to be any more mainstream to today's public because you have younger actors. I'm sorry. If you really want to appeal to the horror crowd, give us the classic horror icons, man. And have them do something epic. I mean, basically, like this. How about this? Like, have them do, I still paused for a moment because my fucking Norton system works gave me a warning. The computer's fine. It was just giving me that update thing that says, we took away this threat and this and that. I understand, whatever. Get back to the whole video. I was saying, what the horror franchise needs, in my opinion, like I said, better screenplays, not lazy, uninspired ideas, make it more fun, practical special effects, no CGI because it's so fucking fake. CGI, I can't believe it. I cannot suspend my disbelief enough watching all these horror films now that all of these CGI ghosts and shit, which is so fucking fake, and the scares and the shocks and scares that I could see coming a mile away. It's tiresome, and the effects I don't like CGI in horror films. I don't. Maybe it was done correctly. Maybe if it gave me a thrill. I mean, like Deep Rising or Deep Blue Sea, they have some CGI, but the movies gave me a thrill, and none of these so-called thrilling, scary, paranormal activity movies have done that for me. Horror needs practical effects again. Needs K&B, needs Tom Savini, needs Tom Berman, needs all these guys giving their effects ideas and everything. I mean, because that's what got me into horror in the first place, was the effects. To see what these kind of crazy, gory, awesome creations and that these artists could come up with. These imaginative, gory death scenes that really, like the Nightmare on Elm Street films and Friday the 13th, that were imaginative and kind of and cool, but at the same time horrifying. And even with the Saw films, they had imagination at least with their death scenes. But the problem is, now they're just relying too much on CGI and doing that damn ghost film phase. Which is, stop with these ghost films. Stop. I don't care. I'm tired of it. I really am. I'll stick with Poltergeist and the original Haunting and the Changeling from my ghost films. And I don't give a shit about Activity. I mean, that's not my cup of tea, this found footage shit. I call it shit because it's just really not very good nowadays. There are a couple found footage films I don't mind. I didn't mind the St. Francisville Experiment. I didn't care for the Blair Witch Project, but I'm going to give it another shot sometime. But, I mean, Cloverfield was pretty good. But, I mean, the whole thing with found footage genre, it's ran its course. Just give it a rest. Same thing with the teenage horror, teeny bopper, female lead movies. Give it a rest. Let's do something different. Let's give the fans what they really want. Let's give the horror fans what they really want. And what I was thinking about earlier today is that, and I thought it was a really good idea, is the horror genre should, and mainstream should take a note from the Expendables and give us a horror version of the Expendables. My idea, I wish I could copyright trademark this, but I don't have the money. My idea is that you make I kind of came up with the title Nightmare Town, or there might be other idea titles you can come up with. But my idea is to have the horror icons of yesteryear, all in one film, doing their own thing. Robert Englund, you could have Kane Hodder, Brad Dourif, Doug Bradley. There might be a few others like Gunnar Hansen or Tony Todd. Have everybody have their specific certain moments. Jeffrey Combs, I think I already mentioned him. But my idea is that it's a town, and basically it's a simple plot, kind of like the original movie The Alone in the Dark. The crazy get out of the nut house, and the town is overrun by these psychopaths, played by horror icons, and inside, the residents of the town can also be played by horror icons, but the heroes like Heather Langenkamp and Lisa Wilcox, the rest of the Dream Warriors cast. You can have you throw in Johnny Depp in a cameo, Andre Gower from the Monster Squad, Kevin Dillon from the Blob, anybody else you can come up with, leave a comment below or something, anybody else you think of that's a horror icon, a hero, Bruce Campbell, for the villains you could also bring in Angus Scrimm, You could have all kinds of crazy cameos, you could have all kinds of fun with this idea, and it would be like, you could be gory, funny, crowd pleaser. That, in my opinion, it won't necessarily change the genre. It won't be, it won't be a genre breaker, but I think it would resurrect new life into the horror genre when it comes to mainstream. Because a lot of horror fans, hardcore horror fans, they don't have much to talk about when it comes to horror because it's all just a sequel or this or that or films that aren't really horror movies. I mean, like Matt was saying, there's websites that are talking about Elysium with Matt Damon being a horror film, or Pacific Rim about robots fighting giant monsters. And they're reporting about it on a horror film website. That's a sad state of affairs. That horror is really almost got, the horror film genre in mainstream has one foot in the grave if it's having its websites reporting sci-fi movies as horror films. I mean, they're not really saying they're horror films, but they're reporting on a horror film site because they don't have anything else to talk about. And with the, mainstream, like I said, do that idea, do Nightmare Town, a horror version of The Expendables. People would go and see that. I'd be there to see that on opening night. Give me that. Give me all the horror icons on the screen at one time, but actually have them do something. Unlike some of these other movies where they actually team up and they do jack shit. They don't have anything to do because the screenplay is shit or they have no budget. So big budgeted horror icons, in a just a balls to wall, fun, bloody good time, and I guarantee that you'll have a box office hit. And if you don't, well, I was wrong, but I seriously doubt that if you had a trailer that came out now that had all of those horror icons all in one movie, that's rated R, gory, practical effects, has a fun little tone to it. You got classic, horror actor. Jamie Lee Curtis can be in it too. Get Sigourney Weaver. They're all having fun. Have the kid from played Mike in the Phantasm films. You have them just having fun, spouting one-liners, have little references to, other icons, other films spattered throughout the film. Like, Jeffrey Combs would be like the head of the asylum, and he loses his mind along with the rest of the nuts, and somewhere in one of his lockers there's like a reanimation serum or something. You can throw in all kinds of homages and little things here and there. You don't have to have Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers and another face in one movie. But you can have all the actors who played them in one movie. I mean, the idea just speaks for itself. I mean, there's just... Sorry, I had a video game cord stuck in between my toes. I mean, really, the idea speaks for itself. Get on it, Hollywood. Do it, and I guarantee the horror genre will have a little bit of a spike in its, not only its attendance, but also, in honesty, its interest. Because it's hard pressed to find anybody really, really seriously interested in any of the horror films that are coming out today. And even the ones direct to video. I mean, direct to video, it's kind of like, I agree with Matt in this, that the mainstream horror films are pretty much dead. They're on life support, and they need some major help. Heart transplant, among other things. And the direct-to-video market, it's in the hospital, it's recovering, but it's still in pretty bad shape. There's still a lot of really crappy direct-to-video movies. Asylum and all these other Anchor Bay's original movies. And then you have to dig through all this shit to find like one gem once in a while. Like Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer or Frozen, or Tucker and Dale vs. Diesel, which I still haven't seen yet, but yeah. Stuff like that. So I agree with Matt in this regard that instead of spending my time, wasting my time, seeing or watching these newer movies that come out through the mainstream horror films, through major studios, I go back to the future. I go back to the past. Not really back to the future. I mean, I go back in the past. I time travel. Time travel back to the 80s via my... either my flash drive or my VHS that I buy, when I go to thrift stores and things like that. I go and watch other movies that I've heard something about, never seen, or movies that I thought might look good, or stuff that I find online that looks like it might be interesting, and I find a lot of, fun little gems like that, and I can't say the same for a lot of stuff that's come out, recently, in the past couple of years. I mean, I can count more gems than I found from past years, like movies that are on direct-to-video or, in the 80s, early 90s, than I can of anything that came out today. I can't, in the last couple of years, I can't even come up with a list of 5, just like Matt. I can't even do it. I don't even know I can come up with a list of 2, let alone 3. I mean, I'll probably come with 3. I don't even know if I can come up with 4. That's how bad the horror genre has gotten nowadays. But I can easily come up with films that I've seen recently in the horror genre that, were direct-to-video back in the 80s or in early 90s, and, stuff like Slaughterhouse Rock. I had a lot of fun with that. It's corny, but I have fun with it. Aberration, that was a good one. I wouldn't necessarily call Dark Side of the Moon a horror film, but kinda. I mean, Dark Side of the Moon. Stuff like that. I mean, I just have to think about it some more. Cameron's Closet. I really like that film. I think it's really underrated. It's a solid film with solid acting. The effects could be better, but it's still really pretty solid film. I mean, there probably are others, but I can't come up with them at the moment. But I guarantee if I think about it some more, I can find more in that vein than I can with what's come out in the last couple of years. So I don't know what else to say except, the horror genre, is it dead? No, no, it's on life support right now. It's in like a lung breathe. It's like assisted breathing machine right now. It needs some help. It needs a heart transplant, lung transplant, whatever it can get, blood transfusion. It needs whatever it can get to basically raise it back to the world of the living, or the world of, the walking around, because it's, basically sitting in a bed with a life support system, and it's getting dangerously close to having its plug pulled, in my opinion. If we don't get any kind of original, different sort of horror films, and we just keep making remakes and sequels, and we just keep Hollywood just keeps doing the same old thing, and we keep going to see it, it might die. Like, it won't be dead, in terms of forever, but the mainstream horror film might die. And you might be just stuck with what comes out on video or on demand, because Hollywood would just not care anymore, or they just ran out of ideas, and they still want to be lazy and not come up with any new ideas. I mean, it's just like, if Hollywood is seriously considering rebooting Twilight already, they don't know what they're so coked up, they don't know what they're thinking. They're crazy. They're insane in the membrane. They want to just reboot Twilight already.
That shows you how much they care about the horror genre. If they're more willing to reboot Twilight than they are to come up with original horror film and release it in cinemas. So, like I said, horror genre, in my opinion, to bring it back, give me Nightmare Town. Give me that movie with all of the horror icons facing off a free-for-all brawl against, these townspeople. I mean, crazies get a lot of the nut house played by horror icons versus other horror icons, the heroes or heroines from the other horror films. Just go at it. Horror film version of the Expendables, basically, in Nightmare Town. And if not that, then just give me something original. Give me something different. That's not a ghost story. It's not a found footage film. It's not a remake or a sequel to an older franchise. Stop being lazy and uninspired. Come on, I know there's some screenwriters out there. I know there's some screenplays that are different and original, but Hollywood doesn't have the balls to do it. Just like Fright Night remake. Or they don't understand it, like the Fright Night remake. Practical effects are a must. No more of the CGI shit, because CGI gore is a joke. It's a joke. There's no reason why you should be doing CGI gore, ever. Hire these men, these professionals, these awesome artists, because they are artists. CGI, anybody calls them a CGI artist, you're not a CGI artist. All you're doing is typing algorithms or whatever codes on your computer. You're creating something with CGI, I understand that. But makeup artists, they make their own sketches, they make their own designs, they do their own work. And a lot of seems like makeup artists now are just getting hired to make their design with their pen and paper, with their art, and then they just use it for CGI. But makeup effects artists, they don't just do their own artwork. They also mold, models out of clay. They also take casts of people's faces, and then, do all kinds of stuff with it. There's no reason why gore should be CGI. No, there's not. It should not be because of cost. It shouldn't be because it's just laziness. It's just laziness. That's the only reason why you see a lot of CGI gore nowadays. Is just pure and plain laziness by the producers, laziness by the companies that are making the movies. Just laziness, because they don't want to spend the time and hire these people to do. Because it's laziness and also cost. But it's not going to cost that much more than hiring these CGI guys. But in Hollywood's mind, they think it's going to cost 10 times more to hire some professional makeup artist to work on their movie rather than just hire some random, CGI computer company to make some computer designs. CGI is not advanced enough, folks, in my opinion, to be superior over makeup effects when it comes to certain things. When it comes to blood, CGI blood, no, never do it, ever. I'm sorry, I try to get used to it, but I can't. I'm not going to accept it because it doesn't need to be there. That's the whole thing. It does not need to be there. Like in the Dread clip, CGI blood coming out of the guy's cheek.
It's a cool effect, but the CGI blood just takes me out of the scene, and it just looks like there's fruit punch flowing out of his mouth. The color is so off in that clip, in my opinion. It's so off. And I know you're doing slow-mo, so you have to but you can do that other ways too. It does not have to be all CGI. Don't tell me you can't come up with a way to make a practical effect blood squib look like it's going slow-mo. It's called filming it with a slow-mo camera. I mean, or speeding it up and then slowing it down later. There's no reason for the CGI blood. It's unexcusable and it's lazy. I don't want to hear this crap about, oh, squibs are bad for you. They hurt. Well, yeah, things might happen. But does that mean we need to stop it? Do they cause cancer? I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I would rather have it. I'd rather have squibs than CGI blood any day. Okay? It looks better. Period. When it comes to matching the death scenes, like Jason kills or whatever, or people getting ripped in half or something, or zombie effects, never CGI. Ever. Practical all the way. So that's the whole thing. Practical effects, no CGI, no CGI gore should be allowed. And it's why it's still being allowed, I have no idea. It's just fake. And it just doesn't work. It just takes me out of a film. Right away, I see the CGI gore, I'm like, that's fake, fuck it. Even some of the worst makeup effects that I've seen, I would prefer over CGI. Because at least I know that they're trying with these makeup effects, but they're not lighting up correctly, so it looks like rubber. Here's CGI, I'm just like, this is a computer-generated image. That's all it is. Looks like I'm watching a cutscene from a video game. So, yeah, that's an issue. You know, horror. You know, they need to give me practical. You know, more practical effects now. Like I said before, long tirade. Stop with the teeny bopper, slasher, whatever genre. It's been dead for a long time. There's nothing new you can do with it. Unless you just make a fun, silly, fun slasher flick that is just over the top and like Intruder or something like that. They might have fun with it, but I seriously doubt it would be a genre bender or anything. Stop with the female leads. It's getting old real fast. And I think I already talked about the found footage genre and you know, torture porn, snuff films. To fix it, like I said, give me practical effects, give me a good story, give me fun, make it fun, don't make it depressing and nihilistic and boring as hell. Give me an ending that's actually happy for once, where the good guys actually win. Give me a movie with some horror icons in the mainstream, you know, like Nightmare Town, and I'll be good. But for right now, I you know, horror films to me are on life support, and I don't really care about what's coming out nowadays. So I'll just go rifle through my VHS shelf and see what I can find, rather than, you know, rather than pay my money to see what's going on at the cinema. Anyway, long video, but anyway, thanks for watching, and hope I got my jumbled thoughts together enough to get the point across. Anyway, thanks for watching this video response. I know I've done a second video response in like a couple weeks or whatever. It's like Matt's just got some really good ideas going on, so I just thought I'd, you know, tag along, you know. So, you know, thanks for watching. Thanks to Matt for the video response idea. Of course, thanks to CK for making the first video that, you know, Matt did a response to, and thanks to everybody and who's stuck with me for all these years. And guess I'll see you later. See ya.